Nigeria, we have a plague of child sexual abuse. 1 in every 3 girls will be sexually abused before the age of 18. And the most dangerous ages are 0 to 5, 6 to 11, and 13 to 17. 1 in 4 boys will be sexually harassed before the age of 12. These victims are people whose fathers are not really present in their lives or who do not play an active role. Last year, we lost over 400 women to domestic violence and abuse. Nigeria has the highest rate of paternal fraud in the world.
In the world?
In the Gbogboaye, the world, and the one under the
underworld.
Yes, so the first year this DNA labs opened, it said 68% of the firstborns brought to their did not belong to the husband of the. So women started protesting that they don't want DNA, they don't want DNA, they don't want DNA.
Barrister Olumide Kayode Omosebi. Many people just know you as Barrister Olumide, Barrister Olumide, Barrister Olumide. Not many know the full name. Such a pleasure to be sitting with you.
Likewise.
You know, I would have liked to have this sit down with you like 3,000 years ago.
Before Christ.
But it's an honor and a privilege to be doing this with you.
Thank you, sir.
So let me start first by saying thank you for everything you do. There's a whole lot of public enlightenment that I almost every Saturday I get to catch at least a bit of your program personally. Also because, you know, I'm usually in transit just before 8 o'clock and all of that on Saturday mornings between 7 and 8. So, between 8 and 9, pardon me, between 8 and 9. So I catch it. And the topics you touch sometimes are either taboo topics or topics that people just would rather deny.
Slide past.
Yes, literally slide past. I had a different question I was going to start with, but now I'd like to start with a conversation you had just this Saturday, which I find really troubling, to say the least, regarding what is going on in parts of the judicial system. If I'm not mistaken, you've talked about a judge who seems to be setting pedophilic criminals on the loose. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely correct.
Yeah, share that experience.
Okay. Firstly, it's an honor, privilege to be with you. You know, the powerhouse rarely seen, but driving the motors, it's a privilege, sir.
The pleasure is mine, my brother.
And Nigeria, we have a plague of child sexual abuse. According to our last survey, 1 in every 3 girls will be sexually abused before the age of 18. And the most dangerous ages are 0 to 5, 6 to 11, and 13 to 17. You find that these people are 4 times more likely to be molested, defiled before the age of 18. So Nigeria has this thing where child sexual abuse, you could see the face cap I'm wearing. Mm-hmm. It's one of our campaigns. We actually led a protest, but you arrest, you lead the arrest, you mobilize the arrest, you report the crime and support the police to catch a pedophile. And it gets to court, which is a life sentence. A rape, defilement, those are things that carry life imprisonment. And then you find that a magistrate before it can be transferred to the High Court has already turned it. So the courtroom is, the last one was courtroom 3, Samilori Court in Ogba. The magistrate there, I have one of the rulings where someone had been previously raped and then raped again. And the magistrate wrote that because the person was previously raped, you cannot charge for rape. So it means that if you were raped before, then you cannot be raped again. And whatever happens to you after that, meaning the first rape is the most important. It did not make sense. How can these judgments be allowed? And then you set the pedophile free. I had another case where a minor was raped. She got pregnant. This man found out, took her to an abortion clinic where the nurse was also forcibly raped by the same man and was pregnant. And on seeing the man, called the girl and said, "How do you know this man?" He said, the man said he was our uncle. And then the man lied, persuaded the doctor to carry out an abortion. Meanwhile, the nurse was raped by the same person and pregnant for the same man. We eventually caught him with the help of the gender unit, Ikeja, charged this man to court. He successfully did the abortion. The family members of this man, his older brother, is a pastor, called me and was pleading that he doesn't know what is wrong with his brother and small children. This magistrate released this gentleman.
Wow.
On bail. It is an unbailable offense ordinarily because, first of all, you had the medical proof she had for defilement, then also abortion, which is like double tragedy. And he was released on bail. So the man started going around. After some time, we didn't see him anymore. These are, then the last one on Monday, we were still in court on Monday, the same thing. The way he was handling the matter, the 4-year-old had syphilis. Then this man in the courtroom said that he's not the nanny, that there is a nanny, it could be the nanny. And the mother of the child got up to say, the nanny is a female. How can a female defile a child and infect the child with syphilis? The magistrate said, well, and seeing that there's somebody else who could have defiled this girl, and the mother got up that how it's a female nanny. How can a female nanny defile another female girl and the nanny it didn't make sense, and said, well, there's really no evidence. He would like to see, I can't find the case file. The case just started falling apart, and we can't keep leading this charge, spending money, time, mobilizing the police, it's not easy. And then they keep releasing them back into the society. I have already lodged a complaint. I'm about to petition the Chief Justice, but it is frustrating. So when people no longer report, you can't blame them because nothing will happen. These are some of the challenges we have, Ogami.
Are you talking of multiple magistrates or
No,
one in particular?
There are some who become noticeable. When you make a mistake or you say something maybe once, twice, but when it's getting to 4, 5, 6 times, and when you are now judicially noticed by other agencies that this magistrate has a tendency to let rapists go, let the cases of defilement, pedophiles go, then there is a problem. There are other NGOs and even another agency who also have petitioned the particular magistrate. And he's still there, at least on Monday. I think that's yesterday. Today is Tuesday. Yesterday, he still sat on our case. Even the IPO, the police woman, was just staring and confused. It is well.
What's the recourse? For cases like this, certainly there's got to be a body that can call
Yes,
such a magistrate to order.
the Chief Justice, the Judicial Commission, but it is a process because he's a senior magistrate. And then there is a reluctance at times to indict their own. It will take a while, but there are some cases that you cannot joke with. Rape, defilements. This girl is just 4 years old. You know, at times you have cases of defilement of 1 year old, 2-year-olds, and you put them back in society.
You know, so I can say that this work you're doing is not easy. It's really tough. Just perhaps a little less than 10 years ago, I started what I called Who Cares Then on radio on Nigeria Info. And the things I saw were so damaging to my sanity. You talked about children being molested. I saw a 6-month-old child being molested by a full-grown man, helped by his wife. You would not believe this. It was the wife who actually got her neighbor's 6-month-old daughter and brought to her husband to sexually molest. In fact, she held the baby for him to molest because they didn't have a child and they had gone to their shaman who had said the only way you can have a child is for your husband to have intercourse with
the baby.
With the baby. I do not understand it. And she took this was a serious case. The wife of the president at the time, Buhari, got involved. It was a big deal. I saw a 12-year-old girl who was violated in a community somewhere here in Lekki. Some guy who was supposed to be like an uncle brought her here to school. And then this young man who was himself the son, a young man in his 20s or 30s, was the son of a school teacher or principal or something of the sort, violated this girl repeatedly. And then they brought her to a hospital near my office. My wife's attention was called to it. She brought me in. We followed that case. That was a particular case. That one really scarred me because the location of that place was a place I was hard to go to. You had to go cross, walk through ponds. It was very devastating. And it turned out that the community protected the aggressor. Oh. As a matter of fact, we got to the palace of the Bale. They threatened to harm us. My wife was told I would pour acid on her if she did not get out of that place. We went across the express to the police station to get the police. The police looked at us and said, "You people wanna get mine too? You people went to that place? Even we can't go to that place." And you ask yourself, in the same country, people do things with impunity and the victims have no recourse. Nobody can help. It's staggering. It's devastating, and it is discouraging. So I just wanted to put that out there to say, first, I understand what you are dealing with, how you keep mentally sane under these circumstances, defies logic on the long run. What am I saying? But it is devastating. Let me ask you. You talked about the march that you had. I know you run this Gnosis thing, and for child sexual abuse, we look at community. Community starts with everybody, neighbors.
Absolutely.
The police, law enforcement, teachers, How much culpability does society have? And I want to go even to the family. Maybe we should start with the parents. How much culpability do parents bear when their children become victim, oftentimes multiple times, of rape and abuse?
Well, I would tell you that it actually begins with the family because most, at least 82% of cases of child sexual abuse are either by family members, which is related by blood or by marriage, and then those who are around them.
So the majority is by family members, actually.
It's majority by family. We have a girl currently who just delivered another baby girl for her stepfather. She's 14. We had another one, 12, who delivered for her father. We have another, the mother has two children for her own son. She started sexually molesting her own son when he was 15. By the time we got there, he was 20, and they already had two children together. That's himself and his mother. They are usually people you know, people who are within their scope of influence. And the culpability is this. Research has shown that, and believe me, it goes for the men as well. The boys are sexually, in fact, 1 in 4 boys will be sexually harassed before the age of 12. You'll find out, according to research, that these victims are people whose fathers are not really present in their lives or who do not play an active role. You have people whose fathers are busy, work, they don't really have time. Second, those who are religiously busy, Monday, Sunday, first, second, third service, Monday, communion service, Tuesday, Holy Ghost service, Wednesday, midweek service, Thursday, prayer meeting, Friday, vigil, Saturday, workers meeting, choir practice, Sunday, first service, second service, Sunday evening, house fellowship. What time do you have? People with absentee fathers. So the difference in whether your child will be sexually molested or not is the presence or absence of a father. Have you seen the confidence of children that their fathers are active in their lives? Have you seen the way they behave? That confidence, then too, the absence of sex education. When you mention sex education, the first thing that comes is, do I want to teach my children how to have sex? No. But it is teaching them the sexual organs. And for example, you need to let them know anyone touching you in the breast, in the bum, and then you prepare them. But if it happens, they will threaten you. Every pedophile threatens the child. If you speak, I will kill your father. And a lot of children now keep quiet, thinking they're protecting the lives of their parents. That if I talk, they will kill my father. So they keep quiet. But if you had prepared them for the threats, that don't worry, they will threaten you. But just you tell me. It reduces the risk. So the culpability begins with the absentee father or the parents that do not prepare their children against the realities of life. That is that there is a 70% chance that someone will attempt to either molest or rape the child. Then it moves to the brother community, where when you tell your mother that, uncle touched me, she would slap you. Say, would you keep quiet? Well, how do you know that is, you want to spoil my marriage? It beats the children into silence. Then houses that are too religious, that you cannot, it is unholy when you say, my breast, you say, it is a taboo. It is, that you can't say things regarding or pertaining to sex or report it. They will tell you, what were you two looking for there? So that is for the home. Then for law enforcement, a lot of police officers are not trained. You have police stations beginning to do a settlement where they will just charge the person and you to come and apologize. They want to settle the case of rape, of defilement. In Aja, there was one officer that suggested that in our place, since you first sleep with them, you go marry him. That's how the gentleman now came and said, because he was arrested, he said that he would marry the 12 years and brought 14,000 naira bride price to the police station. And the parents collected it. And the 12-year-old was told that after 1 week, they would take care of the man, would be taking care of the child. Then when she delivered, she was 12. And it happened in a police station.
And the police sanctioned it.
They were the ones that everything happened under their... They got a commission from the 14,000 naira now. You go to places where they victimize...
Are you running me a skit or something?
If you see some of the things that we see. In fact, I've not been able to have a PA that stayed more than 5 days because they just break down. Last year, we lost over 400 women to domestic violence and abuse and child sexual abuse. Shija is a research foundation. As far back as 2017, had said Nigeria loses between 300 to 350 women to domestic violence and abuse annually. 2024, I thought 2017 was the worst year. 2024 was mad. And there are no statistics unless people like us, NGOs, start putting together tallies either from newspapers or from the police stations or cases that we handled. Oh, I know how many people we. It was too late. I mean, for us to rescue. So we got there to corpses. You have Ikorodu. You have Ajegunle Ajeromi Ifeloju. You have Alimosho. And then that Ajaxis, 4 focal points in Lagos with the highest rates of spousal killings. Highest rates of domestic violence that you but you go to the police station and they would say, it's your fault, the woman, because you did not submit to the husband. You should beg. I've had to petition police officers for telling the woman to beg. In fact, I was at the state CID yesterday on a matter that the man, after the argument in the police station, beat the wife outside in front of the gate as they stepped out, started beating her in Ayobo police station, in front of the gate. I have it on video. And each time the woman goes to report, she's the woman that is put behind the counter until our foundation came in. So the trainings, you find people using tradition and religion. Oh, so you want to lock up your husband now. If you go ahead with this case now, you want him to go to prison. So who will take care of your children? You now badger the victim, you intimidate the victim, and you send the victim back to the abuser. And then we bury another woman. We bury another man. At least about 14 men this year have already died to the hands of their wives, and over 140 women this year have already gone.
Ratio 1 to 10.
It's more than that. Last year, women alone were about 400 and something. And you have 365 days, which means every day, at times 2-3 people in one day are lost to domestic violence and abuse.
When you say in the country, is that really in the country? Because most of what you're telling me is Lagos, actually.
Lagos.
And we're assuming that I mean, I'm free to assume that these are only the reported cases.
The unreported cases are so. Listen, you need to just go to the hospitals. You need to go to the hospitals, in Ajeromi Feluju, Ajegunle. Go to Aja. Go to those clinics. Last year, it was December, third week in December. He said they are Muslims, so immediately they buried before anything happened, they had already buried the evidence, the corpse, everything.
Buried with it.
Already buried. And the entire community, you see, it's just funny. We're in Nigeria, and you are hearing a woman scream. Everybody knows that man is always beating the woman, or that woman is always beating the man. Everybody, when you say, it's enough, you say, it's my wife. And you say, don't interfere in this family matter. It is not a family matter. It is a crime. So everybody just in Denton police station, a woman came there. The man attacked her with a screwdriver and forced the screwdriver into her privates. A screwdriver. The girl, the loss of blood was like this container of... and people were looking. People were standing. People were actually standing. And then some police officers tried to, till today, that matter has not been charged to court. A police officer sat on it because they are from the same village. The matter started at Denton police station, was transferred to the state CID. So if a community, if a people will say enough is enough, we need to stop burying our children. You know how many people have their parents alive, but look at Osinachi's case. I was one of the lawyers that was brought into the matter. I was called by Barrister Toyin Didiojo. She is the founder of Stop the Abuse Foundation. That Barrister Olumide, we need to go to Abuja to this Osinachi's case. I was wondering, I didn't, it wasn't very public then. I said, Osinachi is dead. She said, yes. Osinachi had separated 1 year, 3 months from the marriage. Then the religious interpretations and translations by their pastor came. That, he has come to apologize, and you know what God has joined together? Let no man put asunder. That was what got her back. The parents refused, but she went because of religious manipulations. Today, she's dead. They say because of the children, go back. She's dead. The husband has been sentenced to death. Where are the children that you went back for? Shared amongst everybody. Who would take care of 4 children? Can you imagine your own children coming to testify against you in court? Told them, the judge, how their father pushed their mother from a moving vehicle. How the mother has a cat, and you now found out that the man had another family, another wife and children. Society is the problem.
It's tough processing some of these things. And, but for the fact that I've seen some of it up close myself, I was once invited to a case when you talk about enablement, and it was a case of spousal abuse. The accusation was that the husband had beaten up the wife, and police were called. It was quite proximal to my accommodation at the time. So a neighbor had called me that something is happening in the house. And I had left where I was and I had come back. By the time I got there was a police truck outside. There was a small detachment of police sent over to the house, but led by a lady. The most senior officer, I can't remember what rank now, was a female. And this lady was complaining about the beating. She was obviously brutalized, swollen face, swollen eye, everything. She even said he came at her with threatened to stab her and all of that. And I remember the lecture that the senior police woman was giving her. And then she called to another lady who was also police, because there were two ladies there. Abby, come. Did my husband not slap me this morning? And then she was educating the girl that there's a man now. My husband beats me all the time. And called the other word. Come. Did I not tell you that my husband slapped me this morning? So you have to calm down. So I've seen these things up close where society literally pummels the victim into submission and into deeper into a hole that she needs to get out from pretty quickly. I was going to wait for domestic violence against against women, spousal abuse, because I wanted us to treat children, but in a way they are kind of interrelated in a way. So I'm just sitting down here and thinking to myself, you mentioned the role of even religion sometimes.
Oh, yes.
And you are quite correct when you say a criminal act is not a family matter. It's not.
It's a crime.
It's not. A crime is a crime. And the reason why I wanted to separate it is child abuse is tremendous. As parents, sometimes we abuse our children in the way we try to discipline them, slaps, kicks, punches, things like that. Extreme verbal abuse is also something that we've seen. My director is prompting me to push you back a little bit to that Osinachi case, because you were privy to it, being one of the lawyers, and that matter has spoiled a lot of conversation over time. And I know there is more detail to it than you've even shared. But I was wondering, what was the case? Because there was a time when the matter was even literally stalling. It was almost, I even saw a campaign in support of the man. What was the argument there? What did you see up close?
The issue, it's so much to say, but when you have endured abuse for a long time, it makes think that you have accepted it as a state of affairs. So it is normal. When abuse has gone, I tell people that first thing, once abuse starts, reproduction must stop. Because you can't keep reproducing your abuser. You can't, men that beat their wives, research showed that they grew up watching their mothers being beaten by their father, an intimate partner, or a family member. So when you raise children in abuse, they grow up with the propensity to become abusive adults. They reproduce how they were raised. That is why Sigmund Freud, in his theory of psychoanalysis, would always take you back to your childhood. Mm-hmm. Everything, was it Aristotle says, give me a boy and I will show you the man. Everybody takes you back to where you came from. And Osinachi's case was absolute abuse. When she wants to sing, when they want to pay her, they pay to her husband. When she gets a car, it is the husband that drives. She walks. She takes the bus. The husband drives to church.
The celebrity walks.
The celebrity, yes.
Walk.
A lot of times, even in the...
And the husband.
Then I saw that a lot of times she sang in pain, with anguish. When she left, it was her family that came to pack her stuff. It wasn't that she packed to her brother, the family, they came to pack everything. Said this is over, because he would even isolate her from family and friends, relocate them to a place, not disclose the address. Family cannot come to see their daughter. The twin sister was also an artist. He would not allow them sing together. It was all forms of abuse. And then she dies. And of course, the man says, I didn't kill her. Some said it was throat cancer. So autopsy, witness reports, they had to show the history of domestic violence. The court sessions were hot. It was hot. There was a lot of pressure from everybody, because everybody knew. And I was shocked when the pastor said he didn't know, because everybody knew. The choristers knew. The people in church knew. In fact, there was a time that he had almost beaten her up in church. So everybody knew. I don't even, that is Osinachi is just the most prominent. There are other people that have died because of these religious and traditional manipulations, that when you are getting married as a Yoruba woman, they will tell you that, as you are going in the traditional marriage, as you are going your room in your father's house is no longer available. So as you are going, you're not coming back.
Don't come back.
So you know that whatever you see, there is no escape. You cannot go back home, and people always need help. Which one should I tell you? There are too many. There are some that are alive. I know someone, the day she was promoted as a regional manager of was this drug, was this multinational drug, they make drugs. That day, the husband blinded both eyes. So she's still alive now, but can't see. There are some that are paralyzed. There was one that we were assisting 6 years ago. The husband pushed from the first floor of a balcony. But she had been coming. I said, you need to leave. That one we cannot do for you. So I gave her a time frame. I didn't hear from her after a while. I called her, Madam, how far? She said that there's this prayer meeting, that they said she should fast for 2 weeks. That after the fasting, that God would change the heart of her husband. It wasn't up to 2 weeks that the husband had pushed her from the balcony. She's paralyzed now from the waist. The man has gone abroad and is remarried. She is here, paralyzed down. So I said, where is the pastor that, you should go and meet the pastor. When they called me, I said, go and meet the pastor. So these traditional and religious manipulations that mess with your mind, that you no longer know the difference between danger and safety, that they tell you to remain. People who are not going through what you are going through are the ones telling you how to handle your condition. And the worst part, the children are watching. The children are there. We have damaged children, traumatized children that our own children will pick for as a marital spouse. And that is why I fight so hard at times, looking at my children, knowing that this is the pool, that he's not going to marry someone from space. They are going to pick. And then what will happen? Childhood trauma will be relieved in the marriage. Abuse.
You said something that just talking about the woman who got paralyzed by her husband, and whose husband goes off abroad and marries someone else.
He ran away.
When you were talking about Osinachi a while ago, you said turned out the man actually has another family. What do we know about that family?
That came out of some investigation that some woman and children I won't even waste my
Interacted,
time. I
yes.
won't even waste my time because no matter what we do, Osinachi she's not coming back.
And who knows what we might find from that other woman, by the way.
I think Osinachi was his meal ticket. Who knows him? What does he do?
Here's my concern, though. Why do you think Osinachi stayed on in that relationship? You did say she had been separated for a year, 3 months, but why do you think she was still accessible to that fellow? Why?
Religion.
It's just religion.
Absolute religion. Prophecies and word of wisdom and all that they say. They tell you, don't worry, pray. They make it seem as if you are not praying enough. Listen, I married my wife. Is a divorcee. My wife got married to this gentleman who was 12 years older. The abuse, he beat my wife to the extent that one day he slammed down a flower pot. She landed, her spine shifted. You know, that happened 29 years ago. We're still treating injuries that she sustained 29 years ago in her first marriage. Today, she's still going for physical therapy. And when it got much, because her family did not really want her to marry the man, so she couldn't go to the family because they had said they don't like this idea. She was a worker in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, and then she mentioned that this man is going to kill her, that she doesn't think she can continue. They removed her from being a worker in the church because she said she wants to leave the marriage. Do you understand?
Wow.
At the mention of, you cannot divorce, so you cannot separate. She so unceremoniously, because of her ex used to bring girlfriends home. The beating.
So the matrimonial
in
home.
the matrimonial home. She would cook because there's no bonham. Being stripped outside. In fact, one day, their landlady came down and said, did they use you as collateral for this man? The man attacked the landlady too, stripping her, and that one wanted to curse him because she was an elderly woman and said, it's because of this, your wife. If not, the curse I will give you, no support. Eventually, she lost her job. The man said she was a banker, told her to choose between her marriage and her job. So she lost all. Okay, she wanted to start business, hairdressing. He said she should be making hair by the front door. So you can't have a shop, it must be the front door of the house. He will be drunk. She will be the one to go. Your security men will call her, passed out on the road. She will be the one to drag him in. And when he wakes up in the morning, seeing that she dragged him in, he feels disrespected and beats her up again. Eventually, she left the marriage. She went to redemption camp to meet Baba Adeboye to tell him that this beating is because she could no longer walk. I told you that her spine had shifted. In fact, they told her that she would not be able to give birth again because the part of the spine that shifted is where her womb was attached to. So on shifting, it dislodged the womb a little. That's what they said. They said this womb cannot, the womb is like this, that this one is not, it might not be able to carry a child. She went. And she wrote...
The right side of the ovaries.
I don't even know the... She wrote a letter to Baba Adeboye when they didn't allow her come in because she's a redeemer and she's been, and they didn't just allow you to leave. They tell you whatever position you are, they removed her from being a worker. So where is the support for abused women? And it is not only in that church. You cannot just say This beating, this suffering is too much.
Hold on. This is where it gets a little confusing for me, because I'm a bit of a Bible student myself. And yes, in the Bible, Jesus did give one ground for divorce, which was infidelity. But the Bible is also very clear on at least 3 grounds for separation. And those grounds include your mate constitutes a danger to you or to your children. That is there. And this is where abuse comes in. It's a ground. It's a clear ground. So there is no excuse for religious leaders to tie a victim of abuse to a marriage by hook or crook. The other ground is you're married to a spouse who makes it impossible for you to build a relationship, a spiritual relationship with your God, because, we must obey God as ruler rather than men, the Bible says. And the third ground, which some people do not even pay much attention to, a willful and deliberate refusal to provide for the family. Now, this is not the man is unable to provide anymore. This is the man just will not provide. There is no food in the house, he must drink his beer. There is no food in the house, he must buy 100 gig of data on his phone to browse whatever rubbish he browses. These are grounds. So, and again, I'm saying this because I would challenge any religious leader anywhere in the world to say otherwise, that these 3 grounds for separation do not exist. So what I struggle with is why society perpetuates these extreme forms. And this is not just marital issues. Marriages will have issues. As Paul said, he who marries will have tribulation. and in the flesh, you will have problems. So marriage comes with problems, no doubt. And couples disagree. And sometimes couples fight. What the nature of the fighting is a totally different, wives have been known to slap their husbands out of frustration. I had a sister who used to slap me a lot when we had misunderstandings, sometimes just from talking, trying to express when we were growing up. So, these things do happen. But this is something else. This is a violent disposition, and it's well documented. And you are in a position of influence in the victim's life. You are a religious leader, or you are a parent, or you are a community leader, somebody she respects, and you continue to push her into it. And possibly you even using scripture.
Always using prophecy and scripture. The problem we have is that religion and tradition, you see, we walk by the tradition. And what is tradition? The ideas of people who had lived 200-300 years ago. You know that there is no divine tradition. Tradition is always by man. It is man-made. So these are ideas of people who were the first settlers, and it is always men. So every tradition favors men. So you are taking a man to judge. Then you look at tradition and, for example, the killing of twins, because the first time they saw twins, they did not understand. They thought it was one spirit in 2 different bodies. That how can one spirit, this is witchcraft, this is an abomination. They did not know what it was, so they decided to kill it. Tradition kills what it cannot explain, until a foreign woman, Mary Slessor, came. And today we know better, that it is the splitting of an embryo. So if they at that time had known what we know now, that tradition would not have existed. So my problem with tradition is, how can the voice of the dead be speaking louder than the voice of the living? How can the wisdom of those that died 300 years still be controlling the knowledge that we have today? They need to have seen that they did not know anything. And I dare to say that if our fathers then were alive now with all the scientific and breakthroughs and researches, they wouldn't have made those traditions. The same thing with our religion. You have those men still sitting as the heads of churches. Most of them, sir, beat their wives. So you are taking an abuser to meet another abuser for judgment. Do you know how many pastors we have arrested? Last year, we made sure that it was during Sunday service that we walked in with the policemen to arrest the general overseer for sexually molesting his own daughters. So you are taking an abuser.
His biological daughter.
His biological daughter. Now he had defiled his wife. The wife had a daughter before marrying him. He raped that one. That one had an issue. The wife found out, sent her away. Eventually, the girl could not function. She committed suicide. Then he started again with a niece who came to stay. And the wife, found out one or two things, sent that one away. The wife now started fighting that. How come it's when her family members come that you do? But when your own family members come, you don't do all these things. The man, very abusive in his utterances. And then years after, she now discovered that he had started with his own biological. That was when she reached out to me, thankfully through Nigeria Info FM. I did not believe, because he was a general overseer, until we interviewed the daughters who said, he would. The daughters were, 12 and 13. One just finished SSC, the other just finished SS3. We have been responsible for their education ever since. We relocated them to another house. The general overseer is in Kirikiri. You are going to report your abuser to another abuser. What do you think they will say? Now, Deuteronomy 24 is the first place in the Bible where divorce was mentioned. And it stated that once a man finds no pleasure in his wife, give her a bill of divorcement. Now, there is a bill of divorcement, and then there is putting away. Putting away is what Jesus was talking about in the New Testament, that it is not right to put away. Because putting away is, you don't give her a bill of divorcement, so she can't go. And it says, once you give her a bill of divorcement, it is in Deuteronomy 24, 1-4. You are free to remarry, and she is also free to remarry. The only thing is that you cannot, after you have divorced her, go back to marry her. Mm-hmm. That is the only caveat. But these people don't quote that. They will quote Malachi, that God hates divorce, right? But they will not read the conclusion, and he that also clothes his wife with violence. Now, God hates divorce. Does he hate the divorcee? God hates sin. Does he hate the sinner? Is it until someone kills someone? Proverbs 21:19. It is better to dwell in the wilderness than in a house with a nagging and contentious spouse. Nagging, abuse, verbal. Contentious, physical. That's the first description of domestic violence and abuse from someone who had 700 wives and 300 concubines. He said, leave. Separation is the first thing. Leave. But we say no. And Jesus said, how is it possible? You've lost a limb. Last year, the police inspector cut off the hand of his own wife because she took 2,000 naira from his purse to buy Indomie for him.
A police inspector. Cut his wife.
Cut the wife. I have the images here on my phone.
For taking money from his purse.
To cook food for him. Not that she took the money to cook food for him. There was nothing in the house.
You made this up?
It's right there now. Because why? She's been beaten several times. They will tell you, don't worry, pray for him. Go, just submit. Submit to what?
Where is that police inspector now?
Oh, he's been arrested. The police took it up. At least very swiftly. Very swiftly. Very swiftly, the police took it up.
Cut off the hand of his wife with a machete?
Yes. They arrested him, his picture with a machete and the wife's hand. I could forward it to you.
So, I mean, to the point you make, and a good friend of mine in the U.S. Shared her story. A Christian woman who said, who had shared the kind of abuse she was going. They have a son together, and the kind of abuse she had to endure from the guy. Just a marriage of just a few years. I was at the wedding. And, I was heartened when she told me that in their congregation, the elders, because they don't have a general overseer or anything, came together. And when she said she was going for a divorce, and they just told her, whatever decision you take is your decision. All we want you to know is whatever the decision is, we will support you. And it dawned to me that religious leaders need to do more of that. Support the victim, whatever it is. And I think that would be the same of society, because, I just shared what I saw from a policewoman leading a detachment of police. And yes, so many times victims have been told, go back. This is, time will pass. Every marriage has these issues and all of that. But like they say, if you don't wear the shoe, you really won't know exactly where it pinches. Which brings me to something else. In terms of, by way of looking for a solution, what would you say? Because some feel that this Barrister Olumide's solution to everything is leave.
Yes.
If you have marital problems,
Yes.
leave. Some would point to marriages or unions that had seemed to be full of upheavals, and then after a while things changed, and then the relationship became a happy one, or whatever it is. And some people say, I mean, are you teaching our children not to have what Yoruba call afarada, are you telling them not to have any form of resilience,
long suffering,
throw away for better, for worse? Once it begins to get worse, get out. Could you explain?
Sir, there is a difference between long suffering and to suffer long. They are not the same thing.
And I agree.
They are
but
not the
it's
same
funny
thing.
nonetheless.
Yeah.
So break it down.
Let me tell you something. 2017, between 2017 and 2019, we did a research. 1 in every 4 marriages would end in a separation or divorce by the 2nd anniversary. That is Nigeria. 1 in every 3 women will suffer domestic violence or abuse in the first year of their marriage. 1 in every 6 to 7 men will suffer domestic violence or abuse in the first year of the marriage. Now, what concerns us? 87% of cases of separations, divorces, domestic violence, and abuse are from Christians in marriage. 87%. Now, January 2024, the Pew Research Center in Washington, D.C. released their papers. And in the U.S., 51% of divorces are from Protestant Christians. So it tells you all around the world, Christian marriages have the highest rates of failure amongst all religions that exist. In Nigeria, 87% of failed marriages, that is divorces, separations, domestic violence, and abuse are from Christians in marriage. So it tells you that the fact that you're a Christian makes your marriage more likely to fail than to succeed, statistically. And then why Christian? Because I've been a born-again Christian since I was 8 years old. I am still now. And I think forever I will be. Why a Christian marriages? So we had a divorce clinic. It was, I think, 2019. And we had 85 women. One left before it was over. So there were 84. And out of 84 women, 81 of them said it was God that told them to marry their husbands. For the divorce clinic for the men as well, it was about 117 men. It was very argumentative, very loud. But about 98 men also told them that it was God that told us to marry the wives. So if God knows the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end, that means God already knew that their marriage would fail, but still led them into the marriage, which means when you say lead us not into temptation, that means God led us into our temptation, which means God is not just. If it was God that was responsible for majority of the failures because it was God that told them. So
what's the evidence of God telling them these things?
Let me finish. So I started asking, how did God tell you? One of them I known in the university said he had a dream, and in the dream he was kicking a stone. And the stone now rolled to the feet of one sister, Esther. He woke up and said God had shown him his wife. From the dream. Why? Because he was kicking a stone. And it rolled to the... I know how God talks to me. He talks to me via dreams. And he married her. The marriage did not last 3 years. In fact, the man was the one that packed out of the house and traveled out of the state. He ran away. Because Sister Esther was not, turned out not to really be Sister Esther. Another one, how did God tell you? Said she heard. I said, tell me what you heard. She said she had been praying, God, is he the one or should we look for another? And that she heard very clearly, my daughter, he is the one. And it was confirmed. You see this thing that they say it was confirmed. I say it was confirmed by their pastor and the leader of their church, the marriage committee or something in the church. I said, God told you, my daughter, he is the one. So I kept quiet. And she said, listen, she's been a Christian for a while, that she knows when God is talking to her, that she heard it clearly. So I opened the Bible. And I showed her that there was no point in time that God called anyone my daughter or my son. The only person God called my beloved son was Christ. Every other person he called by name. Moses, he called by name. Samuel, he called by name. Paul, that was Saul, he called by name. And Isaiah 43 tells you that I am the Lord and all that. I know you, I formed you, and I call you by name. So when I showed her from the Bible that God never calls anybody my son, my daughter, she kept quiet. And that is what a lot of them say, my son, he is the one. Then the other one, their church. The pastor told all the women who were looking for husbands to stand up. Told them to get a sheet of paper and write the names of all the men, asking them out. So if it was 3 guys asking out, 10 guys, they wrote all the names. Told them to fold and come and put on the altar. And they were to fast for 3 days. They won't take pepper, they won't take oil, the white fast. And on the 3rd day, they all came, lined up. And as they approached, the pastor would lay their hands and say, number 2 is your husband. We'll go. Number 3 is your husband. According to your list. Number 5 is the husband. So if it was somebody that you even hate, you dislike, but because pastor has said number 3 is your husband, you will go and meet him that God said, you are my husband. So that was how they got married, by a religious raffle draw. How will the marriage succeed when everybody, instead of using their common sense, there was one that the man slapped the lady, and it was an aunt who said, this man is violent. So they called me into the matter. And I asked her that, she said, she was the cause, that, he had a stressful day, that I shouldn't worry. She knows he's hot-tempered, and they are praying about it. I'm like, what? Someone that has already started beating you before, he said he had already prayed and God told them. Can you imagine this religious rascality? And you are telling me that their marriage will succeed. First of all, it will not. Why? Because of the lie that it was God that said so. I may quote a scripture for you. Remember, in the same Bible, God said, who is it that speaks when the Lord has not spoken and it comes to pass? So God will be committed to disprove that lie. He didn't tell you. Christ came to die for your salvation, not for your marriage. Is there marriage in heaven? Matthew 22:30. Jesus said in the resurrection, there's no. So your marriage is earthly, has no spiritual significance. They keep telling them that marriage is spiritual. Do they know what that means? That means after they die, it continues. That is the only thing about when you use the word spiritual, that means it exists after death. But the Bible tells you it does not. So they turn around all these things. They form marriage committees that all you have to do is to go and tell the committee that you saw a sister in the church and you are interested. The church now, the committee members will call the sister, ask her, are you seeing anybody, this. They will say, okay, you start praying. They now go straight into marriage counseling. You haven't even dated. Ask them, how long did you date? They say they didn't date. It's courtship. Do they know what courtship means? Dating is getting to know the character of a person before you say I do. And the idea of dating does not mean sexual intercourse. It just means getting to know someone. And then the little character you know, the question should be, can I take this for the rest of my life? You would ask yourself, he's jealous. She's talkative. She's abusive. When she's angry, she can say anything to, can I take this for the rest of my life? You would make that, look at that. Proverbs tells you, he that finds, 18:22, he that finds a wife finds a good, you have to go. But they leave everything. And then God, is it, he won't go from one prayer mountain, carrying people's names, carrying people's pictures? Ogami, is it that God that created them does not know how they look, that they have to take the picture along to show God that, God, this is the person I'm talking about? Religious rascality, and they keep bring their picture. Is it that God does not know their names, that you have to bring a picture, then now pour the oil on somebody? This religion, and that is how they get married, to absolute strangers. One that we did now, they said it was God. Mrs. Fumilayo Hosanna. The man beat her to death, strangled her with, just in the morning of our program, Relationship 360. So the woman had reached out to me. She's a teacher. When they pay her salary, the husband collects it, wants her to transfer it immediately. So he will now give her what he thinks she would. It's against Section 12, subsection 1 of the Violence Against Persons Prohibitions Act. It's called financial abuse. It carries a 2-year prison sentence. You cannot tell a woman to stop working. You cannot disenfranchise her. The government cannot even realize tax from someone that the government is taking care of. You met the woman working. You say, no, she shouldn't work. We tried to raise money for this woman so that she will leave. I think the man found out by some whatever that the woman just got some money. Early in the morning, took the phone that he wants to check her account. She, knowing that money had entered, held the phone and said no. They started fighting. He got a wire, tied her, but was too tight on the neck. He killed her that morning. The women in the area now surrounded the house. He tried to take her through the back, put her in but they had been hearing her screaming, which was normal. It was someone that was listening to the program that gave her my number. She contacted me on Facebook and said, this is too much. By the time he had killed that, it was the police that saved him that morning. They wanted to kill him and burn him. The corpse was there. During investigation, guess what? They found out that this was the third wife. The first wife died. The second wife ran away. This is the third wife, and he's an elder in the church. No investigation. They would just say, God told me to marry. You are my husband, you are my wife. So if you had known that he was responsible for the death of the first wife, that the second wife ran away.
In the same church, at what point do those religious leaders become culpable themselves?
So now we're going to test that. There's what you call an accessory after the fact. If you know of a crime, they tell you that this man has been beating the wife or this woman has been assaulting her husband. It is a crime. As a pastor, you are now aware of a crime. What do? You now say that, as a pastor, you have sworn to uphold the tenets of the Bible. But the Bible tells you to obey the laws of the land.
No doubt.
And instead, you cover them up. Have you noticed that when you get to the police stations, no religious leader comes for the victim. They come for the abuser, to beg for the abuser. The victims are always alone. Anytime you see a clergyman in any police formation or in any courtroom, they did not come for the victim. They came for the abuser. I work with the state CID gender department. I work also in partnership with the state command, the gender unity Kenya. I think it was 4 years ago that the woman said, the officer in charge of gender said, make them come out all these pastors and all these their deacons. Make them know they come this office. Say them go see person with their beats like this. Now pastor go come bail am, go call commissioner, go call. But the woman gone, the man gone. Nobody for them. So they're accessories after the fact. If you come to beg for this person, or you knew beforehand that this woman, this man had been a victim and you concealed it, in fact, you helped shield him away from the law because you would not give, they said they wouldn't report. Somebody is going to report, they will prevent them from going to report. They will quickly call, pastor will prevent the matter from going to and then after some time, over 400 women died last year. Over 400 women in 365 days. What are they doing? If any pastor would take a stand that in this church, if you don't want to do, go. Do you understand? Marriage is not by force. They won't go. They won't allow you go. They will beat you. They will come after some time, come and beg, take you back for more beatings. Have you seen where it is not double jeopardy? After they go, they come back. They go, they come back. After, you don't hear from them again. The religion, you save for some, you see, not all of them pastors are very, but those people with their doctrines say, no, you must stay there.
To the point you are just making now, because you're saying these things, I'm listening to you, I'm getting restless.
Oh, yes.
I'm trying.
We've started petitioning churches and petitioning pastors.
And I'm trying not to interrupt, but in my head, I'm wondering, who are these religious leaders? I belong to a Christian religious organization that makes it very clear that the authority over you is just spiritual, not secular. So in other words, you commit a crime, yes, they will treat it in the congregation spiritually. If you need help, they will pray for you, but you still have to go to the police. You still have to go to court
Pastor Femi.
and face it.
Let me be a pastor.
I'm not a pastor.
Let me be a pastor. Let them anoint us now. I've been called 8 times to be a pastor. I refused. Simply because pastors will get a tougher judgment. They don't know, because they will account for every soul that I don't want that pressure.
Didn't Jesus call the religious leaders of his time blind guides?
Hypocrites. Have you noticed that all through
and whitewashed graves,
from Genesis to Revelation,
he reserved his strongest
den of robbers,
words for the
bunch
religious
of
leaders,
thieves, hypocrites. From Genesis to Revelations, it had always been the prophets, the religious leaders have always been the subject of persecution by the prophets in the Old Testament. And also when Jesus came, it was who? The Pharisees, the scribes, the chief priests, the high priests. He had no love for them. He said they will not enter heaven, and they will prevent people others from...
It's not far-fetched. You know, again, you look at human nature and power. Religious leaders sometimes see themselves as wielding authority that they do not want to lose. They don't want to surrender.
Oh, they would do anything.
And then because of that, they make decisions not based on
information,
like when Jesus said, you teach traditions of men. So they teach traditions and they leave what the doctrines really, the scriptural doctrines are. I agree with you to a great extent. If I was just going to argue about anything, I would say, at least in the gospel account, there is at the very least, a mention of a man being called a son of God, which is in the lineage, tracing the lineage of Christ all the way. It goes down to Seth, son of Adam, and then Adam, son of God. But everything is...
hold on. Yeah. But you saw that when God called him, God didn't say my son.
My son.
He called him by his name, Adam.
Certainly. Okay. Certainly. I agree to that point. Because again, also the Bible also, when it talks about sons of God, it's pretty aspirational.
In Job chapter 1 verse 6.
Yeah, in those cases.
Job chapter 2 verse 1.
In that case, those were angels.
Those were angels.
And when it talks about it talks about those who have the heavenly calling. So those who have the heavenly calling can aspire, or not now, not while you are human. But the other thing that makes me wonder is that these religious leaders and these people who keep hearing God telling them, this is your wife, this is your husband, do they also not read in scripture that demons whisper things to people? And those things might seem like divine utterances, that the Bible says you should not believe every utterance you hear, but you should test the utterance to see whether they originate with God. And I'm trying not to make it bashing of religious leaders.
You see, it is a problem. Yes. 87% of failed marriages, 87% of divorces, separations, domestic violence, and abuse are from where? So you have to address it. It is too large to ignore. Every other thing accounts for 13%.
That's damning.
So it is too big to ignore. And we need to stop this. Telling people not to know who... did God tell you? Have you prayed about it? I didn't pray about when I wanted to marry when my wife was saying, let's pray about it. I say, I don't really have time. Marriage is about character. You're not getting married to a religion. You're getting married to the character of the person. So you need to know the character. And how do you know this? By going out, seeing the way he talks, seeing how he relates with people, his background, you get information.
But isn't it also true that... the Bible says God's word is alive, is sharper
than any
two-edged sword, and amongst other things, it can there are evidences of people who used to be really badly behaved, who then left that whole
and then became good.
You know, there are
Yes,
examples of people like that.
But that was them. We are talking of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be a social experiment to see if I would change in my character?
It's not my responsibility.
Exactly. It is not the responsibility of another to see whether somebody will change. Your change is personal. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
If you are violent, it's not everybody that should marry you.
And you can't do anything about my outcome.
You can't do
only
anything
do something about yourself.
Yours. Mm-hmm. So people that think, oh, I would change him. That was what my wife said about her first husband, that she thought she could change him because if he's angry and she calls him, that calm down, he will calm down. Before marriage, after marriage, you see, before Christ, after Christ, two different dispensations. Before marriage, after marriage, you now see who the real McCoy is. My own issue is just simple. There is nowhere in the Bible where you see God said this is your husband or God said this is your wife. It does not exist. It exists only in Nigeria.
The Bible actually says the opposite, actually.
Yes, opposite. God has nothing to do with it. They keep making marriage salvation.
It says, I mean, Paul said, look, I'm just advising. This is my own opinion. I'm not saying, and he gave his opinion. And part of what he said was, Oga, I would say it's actually better for you to continue as you are and not marry. But because of the prevalence of immorality, if you cannot control yourself, rather than mess yourself up, just marry. However, even in saying that, he did say, if you marry, you'll have problems. So if you are married, stop seeking a release. If you are not married, stop trying to get into a marriage. And then he said, he who marries does well.
Yeah.
But he who does not marry does better. Again, I'm not making an argument for people not to marry. I have 4 sons. And my wife and I are pretty agreed that we have no business telling our children, I want to carry a grandchild, I want to do this. So even in the conversations we have with them, that I have with my children, I say, when you get married, if you do get married, it's totally up to you. I would never pressure any of you to do anything of that sort. It's staggering. This conversation, I don't think one sit down like this can ever do justice to it, because I don't know where to start. And I back to society, I want to come because there's a question I want to ask you about mentality, poverty, and all of that. So in the build up to that, once I was a witness to physical assault between a young man and they were still dating. And the assailant was related to me. And I remember after struggling to rescue, I don't want to say anything about who was at fault. I thought the young lady herself was horrible, but that does not justify, the violence. So the moment I was able to get her to some measure of safety, I told her to go get the police. And I remember it became a topic for conversation in the family. How can you tell a stranger to go and get a police to arrest somebody that is related to you? It became an issue. And I was pretty adamant. Guess what happened? Days later, while I was with family, it turned out that these 2 people came to announce that they were officially
engaged
in courtship, and that they wanted to go and do stuff. And my reaction that day, these were my words, exactly. I said, first, I'm not interested in this matter because I am convinced that these people these two people have mental issues. and then I said, unless they both come with a certificate of mental fitness, that they are both all right from a reputable mental institution, then I don't want to be a part of any of this. Not after what I saw between them. The data shows that the problems you go through before you get married in courtship, especially among living couples, people who consummate before they get married, it tends to get at least 8 times worse. You cannot go blindly into a relationship where there's already abuse and violence and you assume that somebody tells you that when you get married, all these things are going to get better.
You see that thing that you saw before marriage? I tell them that is Act 1, Scene 1.
The data even says it will be times 8.
Of the movie you are about to feature in. I said, this is your preview. We will buy popcorn. And with action has not started, you thought this was action. When I was in the university, a friend of mine were in the same room. Because of the girlfriend, I decided to go and get a BQ. You know, at night, we just see him come into the room to sleep, sweating. The girlfriend, when she's upset, she goes for property. Breaks the, it was Louver blades then. You hear, his deck is this. So none of us borrow him anything. Because when this woman is angry, she will break. And I told him, I said, it's as if you have borrowed something or this girl has something over you. He said, these words, you can't understand. He said, Olumide, you can't understand is love. You know, Aton Cemetery is full of love.
Buried love.
Buried. There was a case of Nicholas Adetself in Benue State. He was a staff of Makurdi local government. The wife would beat, then break his windscreen, smash the car. The neighbors, everybody told him, this thing is getting too costly. He said, no, that they will sort it. That it's a marriage issue between him and his wife. They will sort it out. On this fateful day, I think it's going to 3 years, the wife beat him. Do they say killed now? Killed him, killed their 3 children, and then killed herself.
She murdered her own children.
Everybody, including herself. So the screaming, the neighbors were trying to break the door. They had to get the police. By the time the police came, they broke down the door. The video, it was, the video, I shared it on my Facebook page. People had not seen that before. You see, character escalates. If you are a jealous person, you think that jealousy remains. It grows with your stature.
It does.
The more you grow, the more your jealousy grows. The richer you become, the richer your jealousy becomes. Character grows. And you know that research shows that by the age of 12, a child's character, a person's character is already fully formed.
It's formed.
So you now come at 30, you want to change what was formed at 12? It is not possible. The only person that can change their character is the person, the owner of the character. So I always ask the question, who wants the character to change? Is it the owner of the character or you that love the owner of the character?
Or you, the starry-eyed romantic?
It never works. People who believed in, it doesn't work. You can't change anybody. And I think these are the things that you ought to be teaching your flock. How to identify. Don't you see how the so-called bad girls get the good guys? The so-called bad guys get the good girls because they will not marry their own kind. They can identify. Yeah. You see these bad girls, they can identify a good man from space, from outer space. They would sight, they will close in. While you are still praying and waiting, they move in. And what are you doing this weekend? The lady would take the guy out to lunch. You are still sending 1 Corinthians 7:2. God will bless you this morning. The girl is sending, babes, lunch on me today. What would you like? Is it lobster cake? Who do you think the guy will respond to? You are still praying, God, is it the one after? Should we look for another? Next thing you hear that Jennifer and Okwayemi are getting married, and you're saying, God, and he's my husband. No, another.
That's a food for thought, man.
They know how to identify a good guy. They know how to identify a good girl.
Like when they say girls are attracted to bad boys, but maybe it's because it's the bad boys who know how to target them, treat them to what they know that they want. And you, the good guy, just want to be open. And so you are no competition.
The bad girls know how to get. Why? Because they've dated men that beat them, that duped them, so when they see a good guy, and then you will be wondering, this bad guy, who even agrees marry you, Seth? There's just one nice guy. You look at them. They will not marry because they themselves, they want peace. They want peace. So you see all those, but our own sister Destiny. They don't know now.
This thing.
They just, God said, there was one of the first cases I handled. The guy joined the church, joined her department. This is just to get close to her. And then, from there, one day he just said, they're in the same department, so they knew. And then told her that he's been praying and God told him that she's the one. She said, are you sure? He said, you can even confirm with pastor. Pastor went. 2 people in the protocol department. Pastor was happy. The church footed 50% of the bill on their marriage. 2 days after the marriage, the guy calls the girl that they want to talk. He's actually a Muslim. And that, it's because of the love that he has for her that he joined her church. She said, stop all this prank, Jerry. You that speak in tongues, you that lead prayer meeting. The guy said, the tongues, I learned it from the church.
I'm just doing what I see you doing.
When you pray, I will cram what you said. I will say it. You pray, we'll cram it. Join the 2 together. My tongues will even be longer than your own. He will say, this guy. Tongues. After he told her that, the issue is that, you can go to church, but our children must be Muslims. The girl was like, are you joking? How she didn't see that the father of this boy was an imam in Surulere. But we prayed about it, But that will not have got, if it was a bad girl, the so-called bad, unbelieving girl, would have found out.
Yeah.
But it can only catch these
street wisdom,
naive people who are not taught how to test, to watch, to ask questions. You close your eyes and you say, oh, God told me. What is this for?
Which leads me to ask this question. Is it cultural mindset, or is it poverty? Which in your experience is the greater culprit when it comes to domestic violence, child abuse, at least using Nigeria or using Lagos and the cases you've dealt with as a custody? Is it more of poverty, or is it cultural mindset issues?
It's cultural. Let me give you an example. If every traditional family deals with anybody that touches or fights, beats up the husband, beats up the wife, that the family institution already deals with it, separates them, maybe takes them to the authorities, and every family, they know that, you can't do this, so Olori Ebi, you are going to. If they do it, how would it progress to become a state problem? The state is made up of families. Families are the smallest units. But because families condone it, it has passed from generation to generation, where father beating mother is what child grew up into. So he also grew up. It's a UNICEF research that men who beat their wives were men who grew up watching their mothers being beaten by their fathers. That is how it passes from generation to generation. So you are going to report to Oloriebi that is also beating his own wife. They condone. Have you seen how they shield the abuser? How they shield the abuser? Have you seen? It is a traditional thing. I was called by the Royal Majesties in Ogun State, and I spoke at the town hall meeting just for men, or with the Alake of Egbaland. I was called by the Oniru. We went to speak to the Oniru about Oniru. We went to Akarigbo of, just the past 3-4 months. We've been going, and I want to thank Mrs. Shonaya who put that together to tell them that their tradition, do you know, next to Lagos State is Ogun State in the cases of domestic violence and child sexual abuse. Lagos State, we cannot talk because Lagos State is made up of Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, but indigenous Ogun State is next. 2 years ago, 41-day-old children were sexually defiled. Day-old. And their defilers were above 50 years old. One was 63. Their own Ministry of Women Affairs released the report. 60-something is Oloriebio. Do you understand? Going to 70, you have a 73-year-old man who has a child from a 14-year-old girl. At 75, he is the Oloriebi, and it can happen without consequence.
What do you think is driving these high cases of pedophilia?
Yeah, because they get away with it. Where there is no consequence, they get away with it now. The people come, they beg, some don't even, they threaten, they do this, they do that, they get away with it. It is now that, it's funny that I got to a police station, everything was already on the wrong. The man said he didn't really do it. The girl was mute. That is, how do you call, would I say an imbecile? So she couldn't really, so the magistrate asked, what sign language does she understand? And they did the sign language. And she pointed him out and raised up the skirt and did the sign. The family members had already, but when they heard that I was coming, they said this guy should run away. How can you be afraid of me more than the police? How would you be afraid of you? And that is a reversal. I should be afraid of the police. But you have people who are saying, Barry Olumide. If you call Barry Olumide, I'm coming and a man is hugging the wife pretending because I am around.
Yeah. I've seen that too, where the abuser puts on a charm, and then if you are a neutral, you would doubt that it's even possible.
They do.
And to enablement by family, I once had a lady who was a friend and a colleague of mine who shared some of the most damning. So in her case, she was being abused in the home, right under her parents' noses, by her mother's brother. Her mother's younger brother was sexually abusing her. And when she finally found the courage to speak up that her uncle was sexually violating her her mother declared war against her. Her mother accused her
Oh.
of trying to ruin her own familial bonds. She wanted to scatter her family. And because she told me this because she was pretty fond of her dad. When we have this conversation, she didn't want to, when she would say things about her mom, it was always negative. And I asked her, what, you don't have a relationship with her? And then she went to that point where she totally disliked the woman. And as far as I was concerned, justifiably so. You know what was worse? This uncle was still living in that same house. In that same house. Because one day he actually came to the office to look for her, and she said, "Oh, by the way, that's that uncle of mine I was telling you about." So families enable this.
They enable.
Society enables this. Religious leaders enable this.
They enable it. Even law enforcement.
Yeah, law enforcement enables this. I was talking to
now judiciary too
is beginning to enable from what you've shared here. And somebody said to me, somebody I had a lot of love to, he was a part of some church, and there was this a relative of mine was a member of that church. He had gotten married to this lady who I found out later had been set up by the church, and they were constantly having issues. And because, of course, we're just related, we didn't bear the same surname. So he wasn't a pastor of a church, but he was head of, he had the post in the church. And one day when he found that I was related to that man, you know what he said? He's like, if I knew you were related to this man, I would not have ever allowed this man to marry this lady. I was like, I don't understand. And then his word was using were, which is Yoruba. We're really, using the name. That this person is a mad person. Or, in other words, what that told me was this person had a notoriety even in that setting before this guy became a member of the church. And it didn't stop them from bringing together. Maybe she was just a problem they were looking at where to push.
What,
and then they pushed her to the new guy.
Is it their responsibility to push?
And that marriage didn't even last. I'm not saying, again, so here's the point, and this point is important. An elderly man once said to me that there is no such thing as a victor and vanquish, that when a marriage is bad, oftentimes, to varying degree, to different degrees, both parties bear responsibility to some degree. Now, at the risk of victim blaming or shaming, I don't want to do that, but does your experience show culpability sometimes even on the part of the victim?
Yes. If you've been to, they call it counseling, I call it discussion sessions. People who have stayed, a 50-year-old woman, the woman had been married for 50 years, came to my office and said she wanted a divorce. I said 50 years. So for 50 years, that means she must be at least 73. And I looked at it, I said, She said she spent 50 years praying for a man to change. That she used to be bigger than this. So it's fasting and prayer. And that she was a banker, that she didn't buy one single property. How many times would you drink poison before you die? How many times do you have to be bitten by a snake before you know you should leave? But I didn't leave because my mother and my father said so. But your mother and your father are not living with them. I don't need anybody's permission to leave. I said I do. I can say I don't. There are some people who create a story to get into a relationship with you. Maybe you missed it before marriage. You tried, you did this, but the person liked, and they had covered up. There was one that the man said his parents were late. The parents were in Ibadan. So hired some people to be father and mother. You can get them in Lagos Island. They will even ask you, do you want them to show as educated parents or local parents?
Family for hire.
Did they bring grandchildren? You will just show Ashwebi for all. You can get any family members. You can get anybody. You can rent an uncle, rent a sister, rent a wife. So the guy arranged all that. And then when their problems start getting so much, and the woman will go and report to them. After some time, the man just said, whoa, Baba, one Ibadan. That this problem too. She said, Baba, which Baba? Said, I'm not his biological father. Well, it was an arrangement, and this is troubles. That was the day she found out, 2 years after marriage, that her husband's parents, brother, sister, and apparently he was that child that was like David in the Bible, an outcast, because if the parents had known, they would have warned her that you want to marry. So he had to arrange, and she saw. So she still remained in the marriage. When it's called obtaining under false pretense, the moment you know that your decision was precipitated by a lie, then you should know that everything is a lie. Should you choose?
Yeah.
Should you choose to continue? That is it. Now your intention. It is no longer, oh, I didn't know. It is now, oh, I knew.
But you made a conscious decision.
But you now continued. So what do you want to complain to me about? A friend of mine stayed in my house. He lived with me for 5 years. He got married, and I didn't even know when they were dating. I just heard that, he had married, and, so one day he reached out to me. So he planned his wife's 40th birthday, a surprise birthday. So he had called her friends, made arrangements and all that. So he thought, who remain where I never called her? I said, her mother. Now called the mother and said, Mommy, you come to Lagos so that I will send you kini, but you lodge in a hotel and all this, because mother said, well, I'm just coming from Omugov. That she started. Say, Mommy, you come for this. What's the kini that is your daughter's 40th birthday now? And so we want to do. So she now said, which daughter? Said, Mommy, why are you doing this? When you don't want to come, you start talking. No, that's the wife's mother, his mother-in-law. And the mother said, who is 40? It was that day he found out that his wife was 46, 3 years older than him. The mother said, how can the third born be 42 and the firstborn be 40? Say, But her passport, everything, driver's license, 40. So the younger brother had sent him a CV to help him get a job. That day, he now went to look for the CV, to look at the age, now so that he was the same age with the younger brother.
Whoa.
So he approached her and an argument arose. And the lady said, okay, what? So 6 years. So she just said, so what? You are doing as if you discovered something that Columbus did not. He kept quiet. He continued. Why? Because he was like, how is it going to be? I had a daughter. So when Wahala now came, I had a daughter. One day she just took the daughter. In fact, what happened was that he started falling sick. I brought him to my show one time. He started falling sick. It was so terrible that he could no longer walk. So they took him to a specialist hospital in Abuja, and then COVID struck. He could not come back to Lagos. Now waited. He now started getting better in Abuja. He couldn't walk. After some time, he started adding weight. He could now walk down the stairs. And after 2 months staying in Abuja, he felt stronger. So the sister said, won't you stay in this, be like, say, this Abuja weather? And, it was a testimony. They say, God did that. They were praying, they were rubbing and anointing. No problem. After the lockdown, he came back to Lagos. The wife had also traveled to see the mother, who she had not seen because of the COVID lockdown. So he was the only one in the house. He now started going around the house, saw, wanted to cook, was taking, and now saw one vial in the fridge. So he was, the way it was, he was like, what is this? Opened it, he didn't know what it was. And then saw that biohazard sign. So he took it, and I don't know what happened to him. He started doing like Inspector Gadget and found out that it was boric acid. So the thing never left his mind. He kept on. Then one day he just researched on Google what boric acid was for and some other things he saw. He saw that they were used for embalming corpses. Then he now put effect of swallowing. All his symptoms had come from that day. He found out that the wife had been systematically poisoning him. He now came to me that, this woman has killed. So when she got back, I said, don't say anything. But I was angry. I said, you already knew that she was 6 years older. From that, you should have known that you were not safe. So when the wife came back, the cold hug and everything. So in the evening, when the wife prepared something, she was not looking for something in the fridge. She was. Then he sat down in the parlor. Then after, I said, are you looking for this?
Yes.
I said, Kenny, we use it to clean the cabinet. That was where the marriage scattered, but almost at the cost of his life. Guess what? His pastor said they must continue. His own older sister was a pastor in that church again and said that God does not, like divorce, and now that he knows, at least if it means he will not be eating her food, but they must still remain
and
married.
Give her time to re-strategize to find a new method of killing you.
So I just blocked the number. I can't love you more than you love yourself. Do you need permission to save your life? This one is my own friend. He lived in he came to the program. That was when, thank God, YouTube was down that day. People were trying to see the face of this because I didn't mention his name. People were like, see his face. Whether not my friend, whether somebody. He said the only clue he will give you is that he went to this Ekiti State, University, and UNAD, yes. Right there. But they chose to continue.
So it's your responsibility.
So it is now, you are the victim only to yourself.
Interesting. 3 quick facts, because again, if I'm not careful, we'll spend the next 3 days sitting here. So quick one. Just to that case of this particular person, what's your opinion? I know this conversation is about the foundation being a lie. So everything whatever skyscraper you build on it will crumble because it was built on a lie. But the other issue is, in this case, a woman who claimed to be 6 years younger than she really was. I understand the desperation of some young girls who add to their age. Sometimes you can argue that they fear being treated like a child. You understand. What's your opinion on the age factor in a relationship, especially when you discover that a man is significantly older than you? Do you hold an opinion on that subject?
Ogami.
I mean, a woman is significantly older than
There is a Yiddish proverb that half truth is a full lie. Don't lie to me. I want to marry you. Do you know what that is? My life, if they want to kill me, once they have you, I'm dead. Do you understand? If anybody wants to
By sharing
kill
my
anybody,
life, I'm opening a pathway to
yes, if
somebody to
anybody
get me.
wants to kill you, sir, once they have the cooperation of your wife, you are dead. There is nothing that can save you. Do you know that? Don't lie to me. Whether the lie is age or tribe or it is a lie. So when people try to color lie, it's only about age. Okay. Food that almost caused death and come. What is that? I didn't tell you. Now found that she had already had a death certificate. His death certificate. She was planning to travel out with another man, taking the child to prove that he was dead, so they won't need his consent to take the child out of the country. Ogami, don't lie to me, because I'm not lying to you. If we were lying to ourselves, okay, 1 + 1 now, go, let's draw according to Uncle Jimmy. But don't lie to me because I'm not lying to you. How old are you? Listen, the age of Methuselah has nothing to do with the wisdom of Solomon. So someone can be telling me, I got married at 42. Someone cannot be telling me, I thought they were... Look at the people that have led this nation. Are they not our fathers? What have they done? They have mismanaged. So their wisdom is foolishness to some. Don't whether age is a lie. Whether school, like our person, engineer, doctorate, that just found out that the husband did not go to school. Husband that was in his name is engineer. Did not even finish secondary school. You got married 5 years into the marriage was when you discovered he did not go to secondary school. I said, how that question shouldn't have arisen. You would know. Where did you go? Oh, I went to Ife. Where did you go? University of Ibadan. You look at his friends, anybody, even in the marriage, you will see OAU students. You will see, you must know some basic things. How is it that these people, they said they went to pray and they just marry anything? Marry anything as long as church or some it is tribe. Oh, you must marry from my tribe, as if sense is in their tribe, as if there's a special river that flows that it is only in their tribe. Once you drink it, your marriage will last. Marriage is simply about character, not about tribe, not about education, not about religion. It is character.
Let's set aside the lie. Your 25-year-old son comes home with a 35-year-old woman and tells you, I'm in love.
Well, he knows his father. You can't come back to me and now complain. That is what you want? It's not a problem. Iwa, how is that they have checked? This is them. No problem. No problem.
So I just wanted to clear that. So it's not that you have a problem with maybe the woman being older.
It's to live long and your choice. But if you tell me that you prayed and God told, that is where I will have a problem.
You're looking for trouble.
I need to know that it is your choice because you have dated, you have seen, you have been with her, and her character and yours, both of you are compatible.
You just mentioned you got married at 42. Mm-hmm. We're seeing increasing cases of people, boys and girls, in their late 20s, 30s, and they're still single. Does it worry you?
No. I think it shouldn't worry anybody. Your achievement is not measured by marriage. In fact, some people were better off being single than married.
Yeah, we just said what Paul said in the Bible.
Some people were, because this marriage is overhyped. Maybe my own, when I clocked 40, my mother went to bring, she attends MFM, they surrounded my house. Every spirit of, early in the morning, I just had every spirit of marital failure. Failure at the edge of breakthrough. They were just breaking. You were running around your house, you didn't know where the voices were coming from, but I recognized them because I was 40. But everybody was, when I ran outside, I saw people.
Yeah, well, you were married 2 years later. Maybe it worked.
When I met my wife, I'd been dating, But, I'm not a kind of guy that can start, like, walk up to a woman and say, hello, hi, can you? I'm shy in that. I can continue, but to start, I don't get started. So I would go out with some of there's a particular friend, my closest friend. So he would take me out, just point that I like that. He will now go and meet. So he will start the conversation, but the girls now liked him instead of. So he would say, no, me, I'm married, or but eventually I met my wife, and funny enough, I was the one that now started that one. And it was 6 months. I dated her. She was a divorcee. She had 3 children. I was a single father. I had 1 child. Everybody told their story, and she was just she's nurturing. You understand? I've dated someone for 3 days before. We started on Saturday. I broke up on Tuesday.
Carry your wahala.
Yeah, because I don't need, you don't have a second opportunity to create a first impression. What I saw, I just, can I take this for the rest of my... So when I say, no, you, that's why you are single. I say, with what I just saw, I don't need to see 2 movies. So before I know it is a horror film now. So people try to make it work. It is not compulsory. It must work. It must flow. And me, you can't shout at me. The moment you raise your voice, you've lost me, as in, I'm not hearing anything again. I just walk away. So I already know that I cannot be with a woman who shouts, who nags. So the moment I see it, I already know I can't be with you. So people don't have boundaries. You have to know yourself that these are the things that, I can't really take. But people, it is after marriage, they will now start discovering themselves that, I can't take this. But you didn't know that before you got married. You need to first of all know you.
I often tell people, enjoy your singleness. You'll probably miss it anyway. Last question.
Yes.
DNA
for people. You didn't know that Nigeria has the highest rate of paternal fraud in the world.
In the world?
In the Bugwaye, the world, and the one under the
underworld.
Yes, so more than
why am I laughing? It's not
68% of firstborns. The first year this DNA labs opened, it said 68% of the firstborns brought to did not belong to the husband of the. So women started protesting that they don't want DNA, they don't want DNA, they don't want DNA. It happened to me too now. Someone just said they had. So I dated this woman, and then I broke up with her. She was very quick with the hands. 5 months later, you break up in June, in January. In June, she comes and says she's pregnant. So I'm still rejoicing with her that who is the guy? She said, for me. 5 months. How? He said she didn't know she was pregnant. And so I said, when the child is born, we will know. We'll do DNA. So she now went around to everybody and said, if you sleep with her, you have to be able to marry her. Somebody who don't slap me. I'm 10 years older, by the way. They slap. So, but when the child came out, it was me. Exactly. The doctor burst into laugh and said, oh, God, don't waste DNA money. But then afterwards, she gave birth to another child and now said it was me again. So because I didn't marry, they tried to deprive me of seeing the child. So I took the matter to court. And when the court said, okay, bring the child, they brought another child. So when I saw that one, I said, this is not my own now. So I said, it's on this. So I now insisted on DNA. We did the first DNA, she didn't. She disputed that I must have bribed this. Then we now said, the court now ruled that we should do a second DNA, this time with another one. They now took the samples to South Africa. So they can't say I went to South Africa came back. It wasn't my child. That was when they brought the real child. A case I handled, the gentleman had enough of the threats and everything. And they were talking about the children. The woman was standing, she would take the children. So I just told him to do DNA. So let's know the children we are fighting for is really yours. My brother, it was only the last born that was his own, out of 4.
Out of 4 kids. So you strongly recommend that DNA
has to be
out.
Yeah.
Barrister Kayode Omosebi, or Barrister Olumide, as everybody calls you. Such a pleasure having this conversation.
Likewise, thank you very much.
Would you commit to a part 2?
Yes, no. Anything for you. You're my boss now. He's my boss. That people think I've been too nice. He's my boss. If you call me, I will come.
It's a pleasure and an honor.
Likewise.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.